Hello and welcome to All Time Conspiracies. Now, Alex,
Yes.
do you enjoy solving puzzles?
Obviously.
Well, solving a Sudoku or a tricky brain teaser is nothing like serious encryptions that are designed to be almost impossible to decipher. And today, we'll be looking at some of the most notoriously tough codes and discussing what secrets each of them may have and how they might justify such intense security.
And speaking of intense security, Robin, we'd like to thank our sponsors of today's video at Dashlane. Now, security and privacy are naturally big concerns of ours, and we have lots of different passwords for different websites, as that's much safer than using one password for everything. But the trouble with that, Robin, as we found, is we can never remember any of our passwords for anything.
It just goes straight out the head, completely.
Yep.
And that's why we use Dashlane, which is a really useful tool that allows us to store all of our passwords in a fully encrypted security architecture. And one feature, in fact probably my favorite feature that I love, is that it will tell you just how secure each of your passwords is and can automatically generate a much stronger password for you and autofill it on all of your accounts. So you know that all of your accounts are secure and you don't even need to know what your password actually is.
And Dashlane will also alert you immediately if any of your accounts suffer a breach, so you can seal off your account and change your password. It works on all major systems, Mac, Windows, iOS and Android, and best of all, it's free.
Yes, yes it is. So there's no reason not to go over to dashlane.com/alltimeconspiracies to try it out today. And if you like it enough you want to upgrade to their premium service, then we've also arranged a little 10% discount you can use. Just click the link in the description below.
But as secure as Dashlane is, I think even these unbreakable codes could give them a run for their money. It's time to open the conspiracy files. Kryptos is a sculpture made by American artist Jim Sanborn in 1990 that is located rather fittingly on the grounds of the CIA. The sculpture consists of a large copper scroll emerging from a computer printer with 4 encrypted messages written on it. 3 of these messages have already been deciphered, but 1 remains elusive. The first person to announce publicly that he had solved the first 3 passages was Jim Gilligley, a computer scientist from Southern California who deciphered these passages using a computer and revealed his solutions in 1999. The first passage read, "Between subtle shading and the absence of light lies the nuance of illusion." According to Sanborn, this text contained a deliberate spelling error. The next passages reference Howard Carter's discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb and also provide coordinates to a position 150 feet southeast of the sculpture. Despite these clues, nobody, including the top US intelligence services, have been able to decode the 4th message. What is Kryptos hiding? So what I love about this one is that the NSA actually responded to a Freedom of Information Act request where they admitted that they'd kept a case open on the Kryptos and have been trying without success to solve the message for years.
That is kind of cool. I hope they're not assigning too many people onto that open case.
How much taxpayers' money was used to try and solve this case is what I'm
and is
wondering.
being used. I really hope nothing, because honestly, why? Why would... It's just a game, basically. As an artist came up with a code, it's just a game. You're not going to change the world.
However, there is an incentive for you to try and solve it, because if like a regular citizen solves Kryptos now, they get something better than Eternal Glory.
I see.
They get the satisfaction of beating the NSA and CIA. So,
I mean, that is Eternal Glory.
True. And let's be real as well, if you did beat it,
Yeah.
then you'd probably get offered a job at like any number of security firms.
That is
so there
true.
is an incentive to solve it, if nothing else.
So when you put it like that, actually, I mean, I want to know what it says.
Yeah.
And especially like, the second message had the coordinates in to that point 150 feet away.
Yes.
What's there?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure which area of the CIA campus it points to, but the artist did actually make other sculptures and dot them around the CIA campus. So maybe it links to one of those.
That makes sense.
And he also gave a pretty big clue about how people can solve the Kryptos, the last message. He said that the 64th to 74th letters in the passage spell out Berlin clock, which is a very unique clock in Berlin that tells time through like 4 rows of flashing lights. And he says that anyone hoping to decrypt the code should study this clock. So there you go, that's a big
big clue
That's
for
a
you.
massive clue. And like he's given away a phrase of the code as well.
And people still haven't solved it.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
There you go. If you want to solve the Kryptos code and try beating the NSA and CIA, go and study the Berlin clock and let us know, because we're too lazy to do it.
The Voynich manuscript is an illustrated codex handwritten with an unknown script. It has been carbon dated to the early 15th century and is thought to have been composed in northern Italy during the Italian Renaissance. It's named after a Polish book dealer who bought the manuscript in 1912 by the name of Wilfrid Voynich. Not much is known about its history before this time, although it's thought by some to have belonged to the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II of Bohemia. Not only is the contents of the script unknown, how it is even coded is a subject experts can't seem to decide. There are numerous theories the text is a cipher, coded with a specific book, or it's just written in an unknown Germanic dialect. There is also a compelling argument to be made that the text is a hoax and the code is actually just gibberish. However, the time period is consistent with the arrival of cryptology in Europe, so it seems likely the manuscript is genuine. The question is, what was it trying to hide?
And that is a key thing to note, really, because if this is really a genuine artifact, it must have been hiding some kind of information, because otherwise why would you go to the trouble of putting this encryption in a book? It was difficult at the time. This is a handwritten book.
One thing we haven't talked about much is the history of the book.
Yeah.
And there is a theory out there that Mr. Voynich was trying to pass this off as a fake, as something made by Roger Bacon, the famous mathematician.
I mean, there's an incentive to do that because it would be worth millions,
Yeah.
an actual text from Roger Bacon. But the problem with faking it is this manuscript has been pretty reliably carbon dated by experts to the 15th century.
Right, so we kind of know when it was made.
But as well as that, we do have other evidence that places it in the 17th century. So we've got a letter from one of its previous owners, the alchemist Georg Baresch, who sent a letter to a scholar named Kircher, dated 1639, asking if he could decipher this script. And that really makes a forgery less likely in my mind.
I think it means something as well that lots of people keep trying to translate it. People like Professor Greg Kondrak in Alberta, I think,
Yep.
who in 2017 used artificial intelligence software to translate and interpret the book, and he came up with a translation. And admittedly, medieval manuscript experts looked at it and weren't very impressed with his translation, but it's a translation, and I think it's important to note that high-profile people, professors of linguistics, are genuinely attempting this and think there's something in there.
Yeah.
They don't think it's just nonsense, they think there's some meaning behind it.
But like you say, experts reviewed his work and weren't totally convinced, so it's not solved by any means, and the mystery kind of continues. And also we've got to talk about these illustrations in the book. These weird illustrations of like plants and animals and astronomical signs kind of makes people think that it was some kind of medicinal journal of some kind.
Yeah.
But then again, why would you go to the effort of encrypting it if it was just a medicinal journal?
There is a thing that says, geniuses are often a little mad. Madness and genius go hand in hand, and I think maybe this is the work of a mad genius.
I like that. I think that's probably the most likely option. Yeah. But what do you guys think? Is the Voynich manuscript real? Let us know in the poll above.
In the late 1960s, a string of murders plagued the Bay Area in California. The killer was known only as Zodiac, and his true identity was never solved. It remains one of the most famous unsolved murder cases of all time. The killer gained notoriety for sending numerous sinister letters to local news stations. The killer bragged about who he had just killed and made threats to the general public. He also included 4 cryptograms in these letters, with only one ever truly being solved conclusively. The first one was solved by schoolteacher Donald Harden and his wife Betty after about a week. They smartly assumed because of the killer's ego, the letter would begin with I. They also assumed the word kill would appear in the text. This assumption helped crack the code. The letter read, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal." The killer claimed that the solutions to all the ciphers would reveal his identity. His shortest coded message could have been the most revealing. In a letter sent to a local news station, he said, "My name is," before leaving a coded cipher. The second cipher is the most notorious, as it has never been solved by anyone, experts and amateurs alike. Could solving this code be the key to finding the Zodiac Killer?
So the trouble with solving these very two short ciphers is that there are solutions to them, but because they're so short, it's impossible to know which one's definitely correct because there's not enough code to kind of validate each
So
one.
there's multiple answers to each code.
Exactly.
That's kind of annoying.
Now the answer for when he says my name is ... and then there's a code.
Yeah.
The one that I really like is Alfred E. Newman, which is a fictitious mascot for Mad Magazine. It kind of fits the killer's twisted sense of humor, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
It kind of makes me think, though, that he would never willingly give up his name, whether it's in a code or not. He just wants to frustrate the investigators.
He does, yeah. I mean, crazy not stupid. He's not going to reveal his name. Particularly since the first code got cracked so quickly.
Exactly.
You would know what he's risking, right? I don't think he was that stupid.
Yeah.
The second cipher, though, is, to me, the most interesting was Z340 because no one's ever cracked it. No one's ever translated it, and I don't think anyone ever will.
No.
You know, and it's hard to tell if it is an impossible code or if it's a nonsense code, because it's odd that the first one should be translated so quickly and the second one should be never translated, right?
Yeah. Getting into his mind, I imagine he thought of himself as a genius,
Yeah.
and then the first code was cracked so quickly, so he just made up a bunch of nonsense for the second one, so people still think he's this genius,
Yeah.
and they'll never be able to solve this code, even though it's just a load of nonsense.
And it's clever, right? If you want to evade detection, you seed false clues. You consume the police's time with fake leads, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. So I think it's sad, but I do think that that's the truth with this one. I think if we ever do find out who was the Zodiac Killer,
yeah.
it won't be by solving this code. All three of these cases show encrypted codes that remain unsolved. Despite some of the world's most talented cryptographers working on all three, the solutions still remain a mystery, and obviously we can solve them.
No, not yet.
But for me though, I think the strangest and most confusing piece of evidence is the Voynich manuscript. It just seems so bizarre, and despite centuries of investigation, the purpose of the text is still unclear.
But what do you think? Are there any other unbreakable codes that we should have covered in this video? Please let us know in the comments below, along with any other topics that you'd like us to discuss in future videos. And please don't forget to click on the link in the description to go try out Dashlane for free. As always, thanks for watching guys, and we'll see you next time.